This week has been, actually for the last couple of weeks, it's been, a lot of thoughts about this seeking love. And then last week, at our Mind Over Matter discussion group, the topic that we talked about was from A Course in Miracles, and the quote is, "It is not our job to seek for love, but to seek within ourselves all the barriers we hold against its coming." And that just tied right in with my thought process, so that's what we're talking about today. I need to begin by talking, we often talk in here about God being present in all people, all things, all situations, everywhere. We really want to believe this truth. And we can most of the time until something really bad happens. And then we start, if God is everywhere, how did that happen? If God's in that, then what are we supposed to think? What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to act? For me, the answer was always, okay, well that happens, but the God presence is revealed afterwards, like 9/11. That was a horrendous act, but afterwards this country came together like never before. We reached out to family and friends, and we just kind of brought everybody in. So we could see God. Horrible act, God. But if we're to believe the omnipresence of God, doesn't this create a duality? It just makes my mind go nuts. God, and I finally came to the belief, and this is unfolding every moment. But I'm kind of at the point right now where, yes, that horrible act and every horrible act we ever see, God's presence is there. It's not that God is creating it. Okay? God cannot create anything that's not in alignment with God's nature. But it doesn't mean God is not present when those horrible things happen. So, anyway, that's kind of where I ended up with that whole thought process. But then it got me thinking even further. And I came to the realization that every act that we do, that humans do, that nature does, is a movement toward love, or a movement away from something that we think is going to prevent love. Every one of them. It's a little hard to swallow. When we think about those terrorists flying jets into the towers. How can that be a movement toward love? In their belief system, love was the pure belief that they held for the religion. Now, I'm not saying their religious beliefs were correct, because I do not believe that any religious belief that is aligned with God will ask us to do any damage whatsoever. But their belief, that act was something they believed would get them closer to pure love. Every act we do is a movement towards love or away for something that we think is going to stop love. The problem that we have is that we see all this stuff. And we're not going to go out and fly a jet into a tower. I do not believe anybody in this room is capable of that. And I'll slap you if you are. Yeah, I can't fly. But we hold a responsibility in all of that in the way we look at it and the energy that we give it. And it's not just flying the planes into the towers. It's any negative act. Any act that we see as dark or violent or damaging causing harm. We hold a responsibility in that, in the way that we see it. We take on a burden, the burden of judgment, of right and wrong. And in doing this, we withhold love. And as we withhold love, we cheat ourselves out of the experience of love. Now we're looking at these things, and the choice that we're making is we're seeing these horrendous acts over here. We're going to avoid those with all that we've got so that we can be closer to love. But in the process of avoiding them, we are withholding love. We are judging. We are doing things that are not in alignment with love. So to align with love, we have to perceive. We have to express love. We have to express God in all things. Because we've got to remember, and we're considering a sign right up here that says God is love, so that we never forget that when we talk love, we are also talking God and vice versa. One and the same. Okay? So when we perceive love only in this situation but not in that one, we cheat ourselves and the situation. Our energy is off kilter. We are not giving the energy of full and pure love. So what are we doing? If you're not giving love, what are you giving? You're giving negativity. You're giving the opposite of love. You're giving fear. Some situations it may be hatred. Some situations it may be racism. It can be anything, but if it's not of love, it's the opposite of love. So in every situation, we have got to learn and then train ourselves to first give love. Through that love, we might find understanding, and through that understanding, we might be able to say, okay, well, here's what I can do differently, or here's what can be done differently. But we have got to get to the point where we're giving love first in every situation. Because if it's not love, you're cheating yourself. You're cheating yourself of the opportunity to be fully aligned with God. Let me rephrase that. To experience the full alignment with God, because we're aligned with God always. It's just we do all kinds of little things here and there that make us think differently, make us feel differently. But every action is a search for love. What's happened is within each one of us, we've experienced divine love. You know, those of us that are attending this service and watching on the videos and attending other like services, many of us are practicing that experience. Because folks, it's a practice. If we don't practice it, then it's going to just go away, and then 5 years from now we're going to go, oh, I've been missing out. I got to get back in the line. And you kind of start over. We've all experienced divine love. Some people it was when they were an infant, when they were just pure innocence, and that was the last time they felt it. Some people have had spots of it here and there. But every one of us has had that experience. And that's what all of our actions are trying to get back to. That's what every action is trying to get back to. Now, some people misinterpret or misdefine that love. Some people believe that love comes from riches. The more money I got, the more power I've got, the more love I've got. And then all of a sudden greed becomes the thing that has to be in place so that they can get to that point. And it's always out there. It's always further, and it just keeps going further and further away. The more they, give into the journey towards that riches, the more they got to travel. Some people think that they've got to lie about themselves or about others, about things they've done, so that others don't think badly of them. Because if somebody thinks badly of you, they can't love you. This is their thought process, not. Okay. Some people have love wrapped up completely in relationships. And they do everything they can to make their partner happy, and anything that their partner does that doesn't show love back, it's a strike against the love that they're trying to put out and the love they're trying to feel, so it makes them do other things. Oftentimes it makes them lead to different relationships in the form of adultery and all of this stuff. And, it can go on and on and on and on and on. But it depends on how we define love. If we define it in any way other than divine, pure love, then it's on the material basis. And all of our actions that are in search of love will be on a material level. And if it's on a material level, it's always out there. And for every 5 steps we take towards it, there's 10 steps more that we've got to find. Love. It truly is what makes the world go round. Love is God. And we remember that. We remember that God is within. So the search for love is nothing more than the unfoldment of truth within us. We don't have to look outside of ourselves for it. Now here's the beautiful thing about it. It sounds kind of selfish when if we stop there, it sounds selfish because it's like, oh, it's all about me. You just got to go inside. It's all about me. It is all about you. But you have to remember that you're one with God. You're one with this universe. You're one with everything. So, the more you heal you, the more you heal your entire experience of this world. We have to know where true love is and what it is. And I think we all have a pretty good idea. I think we all have a real good idea. Now we have to remember where to look for love. Because it's not out there. Now, when we find that true love that's within us, when we recognize it, and it's not like we have to go on a search. You don't have to go digging through your heart and, where is it? It's there. You choose to see it and you see it. And then you choose to see more of it and you see more of it. And you just let it unfold and you keep doing it. And if you make a practice of experiencing it, 2 things happen. One is your entire perception of the world changes. Imagine for a moment if you can look outside, turn on the news, do whatever you want to do, and see it with love. How freeing would that be? If you can see it with love, that means you're not having to judge it. You're not having to rate it as good or bad. You're not having to carry the responsibility of knowing how to interpret it. You just see it through divine eyes, through love. And let that be your perception. That's freeing. And that's the first thing it does. It frees you of that burden. Here's the second thing it does. As your energy of love radiates from you, your world changes. It's not just your perception of the world changes. This can be proven by the energy that you walk into a room with. I was very fortunate in some of my past work when I was doing a lot of team development programs. I was in rooms of people frequently. And you could play with the energy, and I play with it not in a manipulative way, but you could play with it in some of the activities. I wanted them very upbeat and very happy. And some of them I wanted them down and almost in a frightened state because I wanted them to get certain things out of these different exercises that we were doing so that they could learn the lessons they needed to based on what they told me they needed to learn. But anyway, the energy that I was putting out directly affected the energy in that room every time. And I'm not a guru. I don't have this magic power or a switch somewhere that okay, we're going to be in a bad mood now. We're going to be in a good mood now. I didn't have that power. The energy has that power. And when I controlled my energy, it affected what was happening in the room. I've told you about the process that we had people believing certain things about the participant. And when we believed they were weak and worthless, they were weak. And we had this physical activity that we did that made them do it. Now, I won't go through all of that again because I've done it a few times in here. But when we believed them to be strong, they were strong. That's the same thing here. When we see with love, when we choose divine love to be our experience, our filter through which we see life, we're going to see differences. And the energy that we project because of that makes changes. We've gotten in this habit as a society to resist and fight anything that does not align with goodness or what we perceive as goodness. We've gotten in this place that if you don't agree with me, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to make you come to my side. Fight all you want. You're just going to have more fight on your hands. But you find a way to love, and you'll have more love on your hands. Now, do not hear me say that not to stand up for something you believe in. I'm not saying that at all. If you have something that you want to stand up for, do it. Do it strongly, but do it with love. Because if you're doing it fighting something else, it's just going to have a fight that's going to escalate. Or you're going to have somebody that gives in and they will not be serving the purpose that you wanted in the first place. The only way to win is to do so with love, because that invites people to rise up. And they may still hold a different opinion, but they will be doing it with love. I've got a very dear friend that's got some different ideas on things than I do. But we are both able to do it with love, and he's still my best friend. You can make it happen. You can make it happen. So knowing divine love in all, we truly can look at the things that are happening in this world with compassion, with love, with sincerity. And in doing that, we create a healing for ourselves and for this world. We talk often about the Christ mind. That's exactly what Christ did. He didn't look at somebody, he didn't look at the leper and hate the leprosy. He looked at the leper and he saw only the perfect divine being that God created, and he called that out. It's like our meditation said this morning, when love enters, fear goes away. When love entered, the fear of that leprosy, the disease, went away. That's how we heal. That's how we make a positive difference in this world. Love. So let's end today with prayer. Father God, when we speak of love, we speak of you. The divine love that is you. This love fills us and wraps us so completely. The divine love that is you, God, embraces all, and we make the choice now to experience and perceive this world with that knowing. Through the love that is you, God, we release the burdens of judgment and condemnation, and we open our hearts to hold all people, all things, all situations. We hold all of that in love. We perceive life as the beautiful gift it is meant to be. We choose to express and experience love fully. We know our search for love is within, and that search reveals the love that is already there. We no longer seek love through the material things. We simply express love into all things. So knowing love is omnipresent, we are truly grateful. And so it is. Amen.